Hey everyone, welcome to the Light Stand. You are not going to believe who we have here today. You are in for a treat. You guys are in for an absolute treat. Our friend Ale Macias is in the house with a story and a testimony that is about to absolutely blow you guys out of the water.
Rock your world.
Yeah, get ready, guys. This is awesome. So we were just talking about right now off the record how you didn't even really want to do this.
No.
Because
and it's okay.
So here's the deal, guys. We pray about who to invite. As you guys have heard on another episode, we want people with fruit. We want people that have a vision and a purpose to be the light in a dark world, and to light someone's day, just to add a value in some way, shape, or form and let God do what God does. And we thought about Ale. We thought about you. And then we told Ale, and Ale was like, bro.
No.
So,
I did not say no.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to pray about it, because that's like the Christian thing to do.
Yeah.
Of course.
When somebody asks you, you're like, I'm going to pray about it. And I did pray about it. Like, don't think I didn't. I did. But I was like, nope. I don't want to.
And then what happened that went from no to, all right, God, I'll do it?
Well, before.
Yeah.
Before that, I have a question.
Yes.
For you guys.
Oh, snap.
First, I do want to say I'm honored to be here.
Oh.
Because it was a whole journey to be here for me, especially like for me personally. Mm-hmm. So it's an honor. It's a little nerve-wracking, but I'm here. So,
Amen.
But my question is, why did you guys think about me?
I know you more than Art knows you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're so, like, when I met you and I got to know you, I loved how, I got to know the Ale as a servant at church. And I got to know Ale not being a servant. So I was like, dang, this girl's like on fire. Like, you shared your testimony because we were part of a group, Celebrando group, recovery group. And I was like, people need to listen to her story, but I'm not going to rush her. Like, it's all going to be in her timing. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah, for sure. Pero, like, I knew you, how other people might not know you. And that's why I was like, and I had shared, I had told Art about you, but I hadn't, of course, told him.
Yeah, like the
details
secrets.
and stuff. So he's like, dude, we need to get her on the podcast. And we prayed about it too. I prayed about it. So that's why the invitation was offered.
And I remember where we were when I asked Nat, because believe it or not, Nat wasn't the one to suggest you. It was me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
When was that?
We were right here, right here at this stoplight, here on, what is the street? On West Side Street. We were about to turn left on Artcraft, and at the stoplight, I'm thinking about the podcast, and I asked Nat. I think it was the day after you guys came over, the group.
Okay.
You guys were here
when Anthony was here too. That day?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that the very first time you guys were here? Yes. It was the time that I was hanging out with you guys too.
See, I think it was
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh my God, since Thanksgiving, it was Friendsgiving.
Yeah. So I just, I got to hang out with you guys, and just hearing you and see, like, it doesn't take long to hang out with you, Ale, to know that you are a spiritual warrior at another level. And so the day after, we're at the stoplight, and I look at Nat, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about Ale? We should invite her to the pod. I think she would be amazing. Yeah. And it was since then.
Yeah. Like, I kind of like, to be honest, I was like, okay, I need to give her time. Mm-hmm. Let me pray about it. Because I know, I mean, you've voiced, certain things, and I'm like, I'm going to give her time, and then I'm going to ask her.
Yeah.
So I think the time was like, everything fell into place perfectly.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's been orchestrated perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel God, and it's so funny that you, off the record, obviously we weren't recording it, you said that you felt right now that your relationship to God is as good as it's been. Or like you feel the closer to God. How did you say it?
Right now, I feel like my relationship with God is at its strongest.
There you go.
As it's ever been. Mm-hmm. Which is it's going to be odd and judged and everything. Because obviously, I'm not that, como dijo Natalie, I'm known as like super servant, And right now I'm not serving like at church. But
and it's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Obviously. But I didn't understand that. Like right now, my spiritual life has understood that serving God is not just at a ministry.
Exactly.
And I did not grow up Christian. So I didn't know that. The Christian background or rules, I just taught them. I mean, they were taught to me. I didn't grow up knowing any of this. So, yeah. So now I realize that my relationship with God is mine. And it's my responsibility to keep that relationship, whatever's going on around me. I remember this one time I heard someone saying that there was a person in jail and this person didn't know anything but certain Bible verses. Not even the whole Bible. Mm-hmm. Certain Bible verses. Children's ministry, for sure no. Todo lo puedo en Cristo que me fortalece, We all know that. So even if you just serve here and there or you're 12 years old, you don't even understand what this verse is, pero ya está in your mind. It's tattooed to your mind, right?
Yeah.
So I guess this person was like that. Mm-hmm. And in jail, all he would repeat to himself were these verses.
Wow.
Over and over and over. I don't even remember which ones they were, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And that maintained him alive in jail and with hope and with a relationship with God.
Wow.
Because he learned how to speak to God in jail and everything. And it's it doesn't matter your circumstances.
Right.
As long as you have that relationship with God.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's different, so.
Yeah.
Our relationships with God should not look alike.
Everybody has their own way. So as you said that, I feel like a kindred spirit because as soon as you said that, I was like, wow, that's exactly how I feel right now. I feel my relationship with God right now is, it's at the biggest it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And I feel like God talks to me in different ways and I'm becoming more sensitive to his word, to his guidance, to, what he wants for my life, what he wants for my family, how he guides me, how he talks to me. So sometimes he talks to me in ideas, ideas come to my brain out of nowhere. I'm just driving in my car and boop, idea. Kind of like the podcast. That was one. And I'm like, So with your name, boom, hey, let's invite Ale. There's another episode that, we'll probably record, again, an idea that came from him called, When God Says Move, and being obedient to what he's telling you. So and I'm not going to give too much away, but something happened in our personal life to where we have to, uproot, where we set root and go to the land that God's telling us to go to. And we're going where at first, when we took the step of faith to uproot, we didn't have nowhere to plant yet. So we're over here on faith saying, okay, God, you're telling us to go, let's go. And then we got confirmation that, okay, like, you're gonna leave this place. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome, but where are we gonna land? Where are we gonna stay? Because we haven't found that place yet. So I'm like, okay, God, well, you're doing this for a reason, so can you just show us where you want us? And that's another deal. So anyway, back to how being sensitive to God's word and being obedient, right? As this is happening in my personal space, I also I hear this song from my favorite worship artist, Brandon Lake, and he says, I forgot what it's called, but he says, "Don't you give up on me."
That's what it's called.
Is it?
Don't you give up on me.
Don't you give up on me. Okay. So Brandon's Lake song, "Don't You Give Up on Me." And it's written in a way where it's God talking to you. Have you heard it?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. Tears, bro. The first time I'm hearing this song, I'm in the car and I am bawling my eyes out, because it was like at the perfect moment that I was kind of like asking him some stuff in my head. Boom, playlist comes on, boom, thing comes on, and he's like, "Don't you give up on me," because when the night is the darkest, that's when the light hits the hardest. And then he says, "Child, you haven't seen what I promised. We are just getting started." Oh,
Yes.
I'm wrecked, dude. Yeah. So we're excited about today, bro. This is just good. We're giddy.
And that song hit me too. Like the Holy Spirit was very present when I first heard that song. It was when I had left church because I had a mental breakdown. Like, I just couldn't mentally. And I left before second service would start. And I left the kids with art at the church. And I'm like, I'm not okay, mentally okay. I'm leaving. And when I got home, I turned on the radio so I can listen to music, praise and worship. And that's the first song that came up. And I almost felt like I was telling God, "Don't you give up on me." And then I read the lyrics and he's like, "No, you don't give up on me."
Oof.
And then I was like, wow.
That happened. That is because God's just so good.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what is happening, like, I literally just felt like I ghosted God. That was like, he literally told me, like, "You've been ghosting me." Like, I'm there. Like, ghosting is like so like cowardly.
Yeah.
Like,
It's abandoning.
Yeah.
For those that don't know the slang, ghosting.
Yeah. It's like, you're doing something and then you just leave it there consciously. Like, it's there. So for God to be like, "You're ghosting me," I was like, that's so weird. Why would you use that word? But then I'm like, yeah, like, I'm doing it. Like, I am there. I'm praying. I'm going to church. I'm still worshiping, but I'm not doing what God's asking me to do. So I'm not abandoning him, like, to the point that I'm like, "Hey, peace." No.
Gotcha.
But I'm ghosting him, like, because I feel like people that ghost is like, they keep you around for whenever they need. Like, it's a convenience, like, behavior pattern. So I felt like God was telling me that, like, you only come when you need me. Like, everything, there's a purpose for you, for your life, for everything I've done for you. that it just can't be there for you. Like, it just can't just be there and not shared.
Yeah.
Which is something that I had to learn to be okay with, because again, I didn't, and it wasn't like I don't want to share it, I'm selfish, like no,
of course not.
but it was like, I am so nervous, I don't want to be in front of the camera, I don't want to talk to anybody, because once you know me, I don't shut up. Like, if we're there having coffee, my coffee dates are not 30 minutes.
No.
They're not.
I love it though.
Yeah, like, if you set up a coffee date with me, like, prepare yourself. Vamos a ir a Village Inn, because, like, they're going to kick us out. You know? Like, and I know that I want to share.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, who do I share with?
Yeah.
I became very selective.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it was just time for me to say yes.
That's awesome.
Like, this is the first step, so
Yeah.
God knows what's...
All right, I know you were telling us off record, like, how it happened.
Yes.
Can you share?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for those who know me, sí soy bien criticona. I am. And I feel like it's because I think I didn't understand this before I was Christian, that we can be, like, doing things properly. Like, I understand there's a lot of people that don't have the capacity of, like, to do things in excellence, right? But we have Christ in us, so he helps us at our best capacity. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't have excuses. No, I'm just saying, you know, do your research, man.
Yeah.
You know, do your research.
Yeah.
So I did. So I criticize everything. And I heard a podcast one time said, test the spirits. Like, test the spirits. Everything that you see, everything you do, everything you hear, everything you sing, every person you encounter with, like, test the spirit. The spirit's with you. And it speaks to us. So it's going to guide us. Right? So everything I see or whatever, I criticize it. So I did that with your podcast. And it was like, oh, this is awesome. My friend's doing something great. Because I know you personally. So I know that it was going to, like, I was so proud of you. Like, it's going to be like a struggle for her, but that's awesome. She's showing up, bro, period. You know, she's showing up, and that shows a lot of courage, because I don't even show up. So I'm like, that takes courage. So I'm like, okay. And I hear the second one, and I'm like, it's not for me, but that's good for them. Good for them, you know? And I brought it to prayer, and I brought it to my mentor. Shout out to Lily Chavez too. I'm going to do a shout out too, because, yeah. And I came to her, and I was like, friend, I'm feeling this way. Please help me. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't want to be a hater, you know, like, because I know that there's listeners there's listeners that are going to be, like, healed. And that's, like, the goal, right? The goal is to, like, get people to get healing.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to bless them. And then the invite came through. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm over here criticizing this podcast, and now they invite me. Like, I'm such a hypocrite. Like, that is such a, like, it's so hypocritical. Like, for me to just be like, yes, I'm down. I'm going to go in there and, like, give everybody what my 2 cents are. Like, no. So there I am praying or whatever. And then I was just running. Well, I had a mental breakdown. I forgot to say that. I had a mental breakdown that week. I was very sad. And my friend, well, I sent a message to our group, and I was like, girls, pray for me. I feel very sad, blah, blah, blah. And I sent a message to my other friend, to my bestie. And she called me, pray for me, blah, blah, blah. And I felt better. And then I went running that day. That's why I was like, I need to go run. So I went running, and literally God's voice is like, go to the Real conference. And I was like, nope. Like, nope. Like, I'm not going to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. So, and I was like, and I'm not going to pay for that ticket either. So then I go home, like literally I get in my car, I go home, and I'm there complaining and saying, I don't want to do this, because when I don't want to do something, I just say no.
Yeah.
So I get home and my sister's like, I have a ticket for Real. Do you guys want to go? She tells me and my other sister, and I'm like, oh my God, like, it's not even an hour. Like, what is this? And I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I go in and get confirmation after confirmation, personal confirmations, confirmations that I did. I was like, that's insane. I'm not going to do that. In the prayer room, also confirmation. And during the worship, I start seeing visions, because I see things like in pictures. And I know a person that sees like movie scenes. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but anyway, I see a vision, and it's like, yes, you're going to say yes to the podcast, and you're going to fast with Art and with Natalie. You're going to ask them, they're going to fast with you. And then there's not going to be a theme. Like, don't script it out. Like, don't plan something like, oh, you guys are going to talk about this, because like, no.
Right.
He's like, just let the Spirit guide you guys, all three, not just like me. It had to be all three of us.
Right.
And I was like, that's weird. Okay. And I texted Natalie, and I told her this is what God told me.
Yeah.
And here I am. And it was what, almost 4 weeks ago?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, because I had to go to the other conference. I had to experience both conferences first.
What other conference?
I went to the Abundance One Sisterhood.
They had one. That's true.
And that one, like both conferences, was like,
wow.
So yeah, that was my condition. Like, to be here was, you have to go to both conferences.
Gotcha.
And I was like, all right.
Wow.
That's so awesome. Here I am. And I mean, you can get very like sidetracked. No, ¿cómo se dice? Like, you can get confused and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go. Because everybody wants to be an influencer right now. So any little window they get, they think
it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity for you to come and say what you need or what you want to say. But yeah, that was the journey.
The journey.
And today, and it was so weird that you guys told me off record too how you guys were feeling. Yesterday, I was with some friends and I was telling them, just pray for me, because like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, I'm just like nervous, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
It was like, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm over being nervous.
Like an excitement type, like.
Yeah. I was like, oh, whatever. Let's just do it. Like, Let's just rip the Band-Aid.
See.
Like, it was just crazy.
That's awesome.
But today, I rested all day.
That's awesome.
Right now that you guys were saying, like, you're right. Like, I didn't feel like doing anything. Like, not that I couldn't. I was just like, oh, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
But it was just odd. But when you guys shared that, I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was telling Ali that I felt I slept pretty good yesterday after church because we were tired. And then I still slept some. And then para levantarme todavía cansada, like still wake up tired, like I don't want to do anything. And my bed was calling me. And I was at work. And thankfully, we weren't as busy, but Liz, if you're listening, I was like, not the class. But no, yeah, I was just feeling exhausted. Like I was exhausted all day and I slept pretty good. And Art too, like he felt kind of weird.
Yeah. In the morning, I started my morning early, working from home because we had to take my son to a medical appointment that he had. So start my day from home, and then we take him to the appointment. The appointment came out great, thank God. And then we drop him off at school. We come home, so drop off Natalie so she can finish her shift here, and then I can go to the office and finish my work. But as I'm walking out of the house, going to the car, I just felt, and when I noticed it, actually, I noticed it at the appointment. Yeah, that's why I was playing worship music, inside the office. I'm like, I don't feel right. I'm a very, if you know me, I'm a very happy person. I'm a very positive person. I'm genuine. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm not one person in front of people and another one behind closed doors. Who I am is who I am. So I'm usually like that, but today I felt off, and it's difficult to describe how I felt, but it just wasn't me. I felt almost sad. Almost. I just felt, I don't know, just not me, not at peace. I don't know. So I walked to my car and I'm like, God, why do I feel this way? Tell me why I feel like, why am I feeling this way? So I just, throw on my worship, go to work, whatever. And it's just, this feeling just doesn't go away. I come home after my work. I pick up the boys. I start cooking, lunch, and then, they're eating. Oh, wait, as I start cooking and I'm thinking about right now recording, it comes to my mind to listen to people's perspectives on spiritual warfare, because it's a thing. Like, we have, there's a physical world, the one that you can touch. You can see your hands, you can see everything around you, that you're sitting on, the chair that you're sitting on right now, the car that you're driving right now as you're listening to this. Let me read you Ephesians 6, verse 12. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. So as I'm cooking there, my ghetto meat that my boys didn't like. Yeah, I'm telling you.
They were very
critical,
verbal about the food.
The dislike.
And I think
I usually get down. I'm actually I'm an okay cook.
You were. You made chicken parmesan last time for Abby and Adrian, and then for us too.
Yeah.
But this time I guess they didn't want to eat that, and
yeah, I made like ground beef with some chile that my grandma gave me last night. And I guess it was too spicy or too,
the boys aren't
whatever. And then she gave me her famous frijoles that everybody that eats, my grandma's name is Yaya. Well, she goes by Yaya. And whoever eats Yaya's frijoles, you're in heaven. Everybody knows it. So I just made that. I just kind of threw it all together because it's all we had. Or no, that's not all we had. We have a lot of things, but this is what I wanted to cook, man. So I throw it all together, whatever, and then they're eating it, and then something happens, and when it happens, dude, I get lit. Like, I get so angry. I went from 0 to 100 like that.
Yeah.
And I was PO'd, dude, so bad. And if you know me, I'm not a person that gets angry easily.
Yeah.
I have a lot of patience.
Oh my God.
But once you hit that limit, dude,
that's it.
You don't want to see that type of art. It's rare.
Yeah. So as I'm doing this, I'm like, listen to spiritual warfare. Okay, I'm listening to spiritual warfare. Then this happens. Yeah. And then I get so PO'd. I'm like, you know what? Let me go in my room, in my little prayer place. I come in here. I grab my Bible, I put it to my chest, and I just start praying. I'm like, God, I don't like feeling like this. I don't like that. Like, what the heck is going on? Why? Like, this whole day, man, it's been weird. Yeah. I'm feeling like this. It's not from you. I know that. So can you just take it? And here's what I said. I was like, God, if I'm being spiritually attacked right now, if we are being spiritually attacked right now, if there's something going on right now, I rebuke it in Jesus' name. and just praying for protection and praying for God's hand over what we're about to do. Yeah. And that feeling of anger and just all these negative feelings just go away. Boom. Immediately with prayer. Yeah. So once that happens, I tell Nat, you know what? I think that whatever's about to be said today is just going to impact so many people because it kind of feels like the enemy didn't want this to happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. And usually when we have a podcast recording, like today I felt like it was a little stronger than other times. So I know that what's going to be said today, it's going to be very impactful and very impactful. But other times I've noticed too that we try, before we start recording, something always happens that tries to deviate us from recording.
Of course.
Yeah. So but today I felt like it was the strongest.
Not today, Satan. Not today. So on that note, let me continue with Ephesians 6:13 now. So now you're not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world. Okay. Verse 13. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then, after the battle, you will still be standing firm. Stand your ground, putting on the belt of truth and the body armor of God's righteousness. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news, so that you will be fully prepared. In addition to all of these, hold up the shield of faith to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Put on salvation as your helmet, and take the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. So, Ale, you, going back to my comment of, dang, Ale is a spiritual warrior or warriorette. I don't know how to say it.
Warrior.
We're a spiritual warrior.
Yes.
Okay, that's the now, Ale. But what's your story? Like, how did you even get to that place? Like, I think you had even mentioned that you didn't even grow up Christian.
Yes.
So what's your story?
I did not grow up Christian. We were kind of like Catholic, I guess. Well, no. Well, my dad's side of the family is Catholic. My mom's side of the family is a witch. So we don't have a religion in my mom's side of the family. We just have my grandmother as a witch. So she is the one that controlled and brought us up the way that we were brought up. So when my parents get together, they both kind of want to get away from that. Okay. Like my mom wants to get away from that atmosphere. My dad wants to get away from that atmosphere. And like a lot of people a lot of testimonies that I've heard, like, oh, my parents, and they were really bad parents to us, or they did this and they did that. We did not have that growing up. Like my parents were actually really good parents, I think. They're very untraditional. I have a very untraditional mother. Like I've heard it over and over, like, oh, the Mexican culture and like Mexican parents. Like my parents were not Mexican. I don't know where they're from, but they're not very traditional. So growing up with my parents, we were always taught to have a voice since we were very small. I always give this example for those who know me. Sorry, I sound like a broken record. So you know how when you are in school and you're like, can I go to the bathroom? I don't do that.
You just go.
I just go. Like my mom taught me since I was very little that you don't ask to go to the bathroom. Like you just go to the restroom. So obviously I asked for your restroom here. It's your home. But I'm not just going to be like, ay, no vayamos, voy al baño. No, but like if I'm in my house and I'm in my parents' house, I'm in my aunt's house or somewhere that I know, I'm going to go to the restroom. I don't have to ask for permission to go use the restroom. Yeah. So I would always get in trouble. Me and my brothers would always get in trouble because you would get like a little pad of how many times you would go to the restroom, no? You don't remember that?
Some classes.
Yeah.
Like,
You
or
have
you
to
would
like sign your name.
Yeah, you have to sign the name and how long you in the restroom, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I would go to the office because of that. And my mom would always be like, are you going to pay for the doctors? If she,
Yeah.
Y aparte hubo un accidente when I was in elementary that there was a girl, the P girl, and I know I've said this story too much times too. Like, there was this, sorry, P girl, if you're out there listening. I hope you are listening. But anyway, if you're listening, I'm sorry. So this girl, P, we were in 5th grade, and the teacher had her like in trouble. So she was facing, like the teacher's facing us, right?
Yeah.
And she was in the corner with her desk facing the wall.
Wow.
And the teacher's looking at us, right? And she's like raising her hand. And she's like, and everybody's like, hey, miss, like she's calling you. And she's like, may I go to the restroom? And she's like, no, you're in trouble. And I was like, that's not okay. Yeah. So I was like, get up and go to the restroom. I'm just like yelling. And she's like, stop it, Alex. Like, shut up, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. I'm like, get up, dude. Like, just get up and go to the restroom. Like, and she had the accident. And I remember specifically leaving the room and telling her, I'm going to tell my mom what you did. Like, I'm going to tell her. And my mom told me, a ti no te va a pasar eso. You get up and you go to the restroom.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So with that, I always had that backup from my parents. Like, I was always taught that if something is not safe, if I, Ale, don't feel safe, I get up and leave. I don't even have to explain it. I don't even have to excuse myself. I get up and leave. Any situation, anywhere I am, like, bye, deuces. So I was brought up like that. Like, not that I'm a rebel against authorities. I mean, I'm not just like peace principle. Like, no, but if I don't feel safe, I do leave.
Yeah.
And we would always get in trouble. Me and my brothers are known for that. And I remember, and my mom would tell you the story. She'll be like, ¿Qué le hicieron a Alejandra? That was her first question.
Wow.
¿Qué le hicieron a Alejandra? ¿Qué le hicieron a mi hija to be here? Because I knew better not to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. But if I was in the office, it was because something was done to me. Mm. Wow. And the authority did not like it. Wow. So, like, the only person I ask for permission or give explanations to is my mom. Like, my parents, that's it. Mm. So, that's how I kind of grew up with that, with those parents. And I became very rebellious, and I was like how old was I? Like 13. Yeah, because of that freedom. I think it was because of that freedom. Yeah. Pero aparte, obviamente, there's Ale, going to middle school and doing all this stuff. And that's when I had my first boyfriend when I was 13. No, I was 12. Mm-hmm. I was 12. And I started having this relationship with this little boy because we're little kids. And we grew up together. We were together until off and on. Mm-hmm. I just heard your podcast. Oh, your story. Yeah. And I was like, ay, esa era yo. Pero yeah. Like, it's so true. Like, you guys grew up together. Yeah. We're growing up. Like, when we're in high school, we're growing up. Yeah. And obviously, there's so many trauma there. We trauma bonded together. My parents were going through a divorce. He was literally abandoned. So we trauma bonded. And that's how we were connected. Obviously, también there's the soul ties we had with our sexual encounters and everything. And it was just, we were grown-ups in little 13-year-old bodies. So there's no way that you were able to understand that. And then after he becomes very violent with me, I start drinking. I was drinking since I was like 17. Oh. So I started drinking when I'm 17, doing drugs. By this time, I had already lost one baby. So I already had that trauma. We both did, because it's not just me. It's me and him together. Okay. We have all of this, and we graduate. He goes to the army. So I just never see him again, right? Mm-hmm. And every time he comes back, it's the same thing. And it's just like a on and off thing. By the time I'm like in my 20s, I'm already like a full alcoholic. Like, wow. Like I was a functioning alcoholic, like completely. Like I would, now that I tell my story, like to my parents, they're just like, what? I'm like, yes. I left my house when I was like, I'm going to say 23, 24 to live on my own. So, I could drink all the time. I was a full-time student. Mm-hmm. I would work full-time. Well, I went back to school like when I was like 25. So I partied for like ever. Like partied. I worked and partied.
Wow. That's all you would do?
That's all I would do.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those hangovers? I didn't have hangovers because I would never stop drinking. Wow. Like, I don't know what hangover is.
Wow.
Because I was always intoxicated. You become functioning. Like you literally are you function normal. Uh-huh. And you just don't realize, like other people around you don't realize that you're drunk. Because there's a lot of type of drunks. Like, have you ever watched Shameless?
Part of it, yeah.
You know Frank Gallagher?
Yes.
You know how sloppy he is? I was not that type of drunk.
Okay.
There's sloppy drunks, like where you're just like, ahí está tirada en el bar. No.
Yeah. Wow.
No, your tolerance gets really high to the point that you do everything. I worked. I went to school. I would go to social gatherings. I do now realize that I don't remember a lot of things. Obviously, I was intoxicated. Mm-hmm. So all of that happens. And then one day I'm in my apartment and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I feel like something's missing. Like, I feel like something's missing in my life. But I never stopped drinking, okay, since I was like 17.
Okay.
And then I'm just like, something's missing. Like, I already graduated. I was already working with the attorney. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, this is a cool job. I'm already going to court and it's so cool. I have my own place. I'm like, this is fun. And then I'm just like, that's weird. So my dad started going to Vino. And he's the one that he would invite us Father's Day and Christmas. So I would go 2 times to Vino Nuevo for like once a year. I would go twice and I would be like, this is so dumb. I don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. But I'm just drunk the whole time. So I'm not like, you're not sober. You're not alert. You don't know what's happening. So I don't know why I stopped drinking. Because I think that's when I ran into a house. Like I crashed into a house.
Oh, okay.
Not into a house. Yeah, like with my vehicle, I crashed into like the rock wall of a house.
Whoa.
When I was fighting with that little boyfriend that I had back when I was a teenager, came back when I was an adult. Mm. So we were having an argument and I ran into that house and it was like, whoa. And I kind of stopped drinking. I tried. Because like, if you drink that much, you just don't stop drinking. Like you go to rehab.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go to this event with my dad, whatever. And it was the first time they did Noel.
Oh, wow.
First time. So my dad knows I love Christmas. So he's like, ven, va a haber una obra. No, he told me it was like a musical. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, you had me a musical. I'm down. So I go, right? Uh-huh. And that's the first time I ever felt the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? And I was drunk. Wow. Right. And I've heard a lot of testimonies where people are like on the verge of like overdosing when the Holy Ghost like speaks to them. And obviously that's how I felt. Like I wasn't like in the verge of overdosing, but I am intoxicated, don't know what's going on. And I feel the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is odd. And ya me fui a mi casa, la. Like, hicieron el llamado y todo. And I was like, this was such a great musical. Bye. And I left.
Wow.
And that Christmas, I spent it in Disneyland. So there I am in the happiest place with my mom. And I remember I was not drinking as much, especially like I'm on vacation. I can't drink so much. Like, have like the normal, like 3 shots of beer, whatever. That's like a little bit for me back in the day. So I'm just like, yeah, I'll have a little bit of drinks. And I'm feeling like this is so weird that I want to feel how I felt in that musical.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's weird. I'm supposed to have like the funnest time here. I'm like, that's weird. And I was like, and I would talk to someone. Now I know it was God, obviously. But before I was like, fine, I'll go. Like, telling myself, fine, I'll just go. Like, just have a good time, but we'll go. We'll go when we get there.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. And I never told anybody. I didn't even tell my dad. I didn't tell no one. I just went back.
Wow.
And I was like, if someone tells me to cover my tattoos, I'm not coming back. If someone tells me that I'm not going to come back. If someone tells me, I'm not going to come back. I gave like a list to like this. I made a list to this unknown person, which I knew was God the whole time, but I didn't know.
At that time, yeah.
And I'm just like, okay. And I never left.
Wow.
Like, I just went back. And after that, my dad was already in Celebrando. And he's like, you need to come.
That's awesome.
And literally, that's when I went back to therapy. Because for me, Celebrando is therapy 100%.
For sure.
Like, 100%. And for those who don't know, it's based on AA Anonymous, which was perfect for me because I was an alcoholic. So the steps were perfect for my rehab procedure. And aparte, I was already okay with the whole therapy because when I was a child, I would take therapy because I had an overdose when I was 10. So...
What did you overdose on?
Sleeping pills.
Whoa.
So when that happened, I had to be on therapy.
Yeah.
Like, there was no way around it.
Right.
So my parents had to learn to deal with us as children with anxiety, I would take, now I know that the sleeping pills we had were for my anxiety, which I was like, we didn't know why she had anxiety. But because of Celebrando and throughout my Christian growth, I learned why the suicide, why the sexual encounter so early. Like, you learn all of that once you go through therapy.
Yeah.
Like, and I just heard also the mental health podcast with Nancy. Was it Nancy? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everybody needs to go to therapy.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're crazy. It's not because, it's Jesus in therapy will save your life. And I do believe that because of this program, I was able to become sober because I did get sober overnight.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
You went from functioning alcoholic, nonstop state of intoxication to zero alcohol from one day to the next.
Yes. I've been
That's awesome.
Alcohol free it's going to be eight years in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Nat knows I love, like, I celebrate any struggle that you have.
Of course.
And you share it with me, I'll be like, dude, gold star.
Yeah.
And celebrate it. And they know I'm huge on celebrations. Yeah. Like, my 10-year anniversary I'm going to have a party.
Yes.
Like, with no alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, that's coffee for everyone.
Yeah.
But
sure.
yeah, it's crazy because I do know that, people need rehab, actual, like, rehab for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy because I'm a girl. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I feel like people don't hear from girls so much. Like, I don't know another alcoholic that's a girl. Mm. I know guys that say, oh, I was an alcoholic, but that's it. Like, seriously, Sometimes my family would tell me, oh, remember this? And I'm like, no, I was drunk. And their expression is like, they're not even used to people saying, like, I was an alcoholic.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people have a drinking problem, but they don't think they're alcoholics. They don't consider themselves alcoholics. Pero sí son.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you wake up and you take a shot before you go to school, you're an alcoholic, bro. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, if you take vodka in your water bottle and pretend it's water, you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
If you spike your coffee, you're an alcoholic. Like, you just don't do that.
Right.
You know? And it is an addiction that grows, obviously. Like, I remember when I started drinking, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to hide it. No, like, you just drink beer, you do a keg stand, whatever, you know? When you're 21, you go but I mean, it was to the point where I would wake up and take a tequila shot.
Wow.
For like breakfast.
Whoa.
And then I would be like, okay, before leaving, I'll take another one.
Wow.
And then in my bottle, like my water bottle, there was vodka in there. And I just make sure that I never smelled or anything because like I had to go to court. Mm-hmm. I worked with an attorney.
Yeah.
And you go to school and I was driving. Like I would drive everywhere.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like, ahorita yo entiendo, like it was just because of God.
Yeah.
Like God's the only one that can do that.
Yeah. He was protecting you.
And the rehab itself was like, okay, I'm going to just do it for you. Mm. And I'm like, thanks, Papa.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
But he's done so many things like that. Like, and I mean, because of that state, I am not alert. I am not sober. So now I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like now I see a lot of things and I'm like,
oh my God.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Like what's going on with all these girls
and
these boys and these families?
You know what? Sorry to interrupt, Ale. Earlier when you said that you had like a list to an unknown, what we know now, it was God, of if they judge me by my tattoos or how I look, whatever. Unfortunately, I feel like that's why we get that bad rep as Christians, because we're quick to judge. Yeah. Like, oh, here comes a gay couple to church. We're going to judge them because that's wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, like, al contrario, we should be welcoming them.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
yes, let's go
there. I'm glad that no one judged you and you kept going.
And I'm pretty sure they did.
Or that they didn't say it.
But they didn't say anything. Because again, going back to if I don't feel safe, I'm out.
Right. Yeah.
That it's all about safe space. Why? Because my parents have learned they had to be like, because of my suicide attempt, they had to do it. It wasn't like, we should like take the kids to therapy. No, it was court ordered. You know, you had to take your kids to therapy. Wow. You know, so they had to learn how to provide that safe space with us. And till today, that's how we are. Like, me and my brothers are very like, oh no, I don't like this. And we leave. So if I wasn't going to feel safe at a place where I'm supposed to be welcomed.
Right.
I heard this somewhere. It said, people say, many churches say, oh yeah, come as you are. But it's really like, come as we are. Mm. Become who we are.
Dude.
It's not like, am I really going to like, come as we are? Because like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
We need to really dissect this one, guys. Christianity, it has so many branches, right? There's the Pentecostal, and there's the Evangelical, and there's the Lutheran, and there's the Baptist, and there's the 7-day something, and the Pentecostal, and the blah, 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 blah. Do I know the rules for each and every single one? Absolutely not. To an extent, I'm kind of glad, maybe one day God will implant that curiosity in me to where I actually sit down and like see what the difference is from anyone. Because one of them, like you can't, women, you know, they have to wear super long skirts. Some they can't wear makeup. They can't wear jewelry. They can't do their hair. They can't. I don't know, whatever. Like there's another one where it's anti-technology. You have to live flat out, like no TV, no radio, no. It's like you're living like in the old times, pre-electricity. You know, no cell phone. Like I don't know how you even live. You know, nowadays like that.
Yeah.
Do you have like a little campfire in your living room? Like how do you stay warm? So I don't know. But all that to say, in this, excuse me, this is my opinion, my very strong opinion. Our jobs as Christians is not to point the finger to say that so-and-so you're doing wrong because I know better. That is absolutely not our place as Christians. Because as you point the finger to someone, dude, you have 3 pointing back at you. And God's looking at you and saying, did you hit your head and get amnesia, buddy? Did you just forget what I forgave you for?
Yeah.
Who are you to judge anybody?
Yeah.
That's my stance, dude. It's like our job is not to point out who's doing wrong.
Right.
Our job is, as a Christian, is to spread the gospel, the good news. What is the good news? To tell the truth about Jesus and how he saved your life and the impact that he's had in your life and what he's done in your life. Yeah. You can't push a rope. You have to pull. You create the pull. How am I going to pull someone to Jesus when I'm too busy pointing the finger at all the crap that they're doing wrong? Yeah. When it was just 2 years ago that you were sucking on a cigarette and drowning in alcohol yourself, and that you were cheating on your wife and you were flirting with the secretary. You didn't maybe physically touch her, but man, you got her naked real quick in your mind, and you entertained the idea. Oof. So if we want to go hypocrite wild, if we want to talk hypocrite, dude, of course we get judged. Of course we get that bad rap, because there's so many people that they're alleged Christians, but no one wants to hang around you. No one likes you because you're over here walking around with your air of arrogance, and saying, "Oh, look at me, I'm Mr. Perfect, and I'm Mrs. Karen. That I do nothing wrong, and oh, look at me, I'm so manicured." Dude, the Bible says that our best to God is the equivalent of a period rag. Our very best in God's eyes is that filthy. So if you're listening, dude, and you want to pull people to Jesus, I invite you to be the first one to say, dude, I don't care what you're doing. I'm no one to judge you, because you know who I was X amount of time ago.
Yeah.
Let me give you my quick testimony. And you're not going to sit there and bleed their ears off 2 hours talking about, back in 1975 I was born, and make it quick, dude. But pray that God gives you the words so that people can see Jesus in you. And people can feel Jesus' love through you. And that's how you create impact, I think. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, no. Because, see, it's very easy as Christians to love Jesus. But that's not a real Christian, I think. The real Christian loves Judas. That's the real Christian. It's real easy to love Jesus. But can you love Judas? Can you forgive Judas?
Yeah.
If Jesus being God and God's son, knowing that Judas was about to betray you, You know it already. You're God, dude. You know there's no surprises to you. Judas is sitting there. You know he's going to betray you. You know he's going to sell you for some silver. And you still allow him to eat at your table. Oh, yeah. But you're too good to hug somebody that smells like marijuana at church.
Oh, come on.
And then, like you said, babe, a gay couple comes into church, or you know, a gay person, you know, in out in the street or at work or whatever. Yeah. Dude, love them.
Yes.
Because first of all, you don't know what they've been through. Mm-hmm. You don't know their story. You don't know a gay person's story. You don't know a lesbian person's story. You don't know a trans person's story. You don't know a homeless person's story. You don't know a drug addict story. You don't know an alcoholic story. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what trauma they've had. You don't know if they've been abused. Mm-hmm. You don't know if they've been raped. You don't know if the two people that are supposed to be the most loving figures in their life, which is mom and dad, gave them up for adoption.
Yeah.
Threw them in the trash for someone to find, dropped them off at a firefighter station. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All you see is what's in front of you. You don't know that person's history, dude. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to call yourself a Christian and judge them based off of what's in front of you?
Yeah.
Without knowing the context? Would you want someone to judge you like that?
Nope.
And then sorry for interrupting.
No, dude. Sorry that I went off on this little.
No, that's just the norm. Those are just for the new Christians. You're forgetting about the Christians on Christians.
Ooh, okay.
Because that happens too.
Yeah.
You know, one of my best friends, she's a lesbian, and she one time told me, I mean, we grew up together. She was married, and I mean, I'm not here to tell her story, but she was married, and then she, you know, came out, and now she's a lesbian. And I turned Christian, and I stopped hanging out and stopped drinking. And once you stop doing the big struggles, you realize like who's really your friend or not. Because I lost all my friends, literally. And she was one of the ones that stayed. And she told me one time she was kind of like, felt her like leaving a little bit. And I was like, yo, what's up? She's like, well, I can't be your friend. Like, you're a Christian. I was like, who told you that? Mm. Who told you I cannot be your friend?
Wow.
Because I want to know who told you that.
Right.
Because the God I worship did not tell me that. And there's so many other Christians that would unfollow me right now, but that's okay.
Right.
My job is to love her. My job is not to turn her straight. That's God's job. Mm. But if I'm the only person that's going to portray Jesus to her and I treat her that way, I'm not doing my job as a Christian.
Come on, dude.
Like, you can serve in all the ministries. You can be all the leader you want. You don't know how to treat a person. You're not reflecting Jesus. And that's our job.
Yes.
Our job is not to have 1,000 followers and 1,000 members in our church. Our job is to save souls.
100%.
Like, if you save one, o sea,
that's
like it. You did your job, bro.
Yes.
And it takes nothing but love to do that.
The ultimate love, dude. Dude, oh my gosh. I really hope, man, that this is resonating with your heart, guys. God is going to use you. If you say that you're a Christian, if you say that, I accepted Jesus in my life, okay, he's going to put you in positions.
Yes.
To give other people opportunity to get to know him, just how you got to know him. Mm-hmm. And you could be the one person in that other person's life to connect to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And if you're being Mr. or Mrs. Judgmental, you missed it. Because that was your one shot, man. You were that one person. You had one job, bro. And it was to love. Jesus is love. Mm-hmm. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying accept
Exactly.
everything that's going on. Oh, I'm okay with what's happening. Dude, we can agree to disagree. When Jesus confronted the prostitute that was about to get stoned to death, he said, "Get up. I don't judge you. Don't do it again. Stop your sin." Jesus didn't say, "Keep doing what you're doing, girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm going to save you anyways."
Yes.
So don't get it twisted. There's word. It's okay. It's okay to not accept your lifestyle, but I still love you, dude.
Yeah.
Parents, I think you could really resonate with this one, because let me give you an example. Let's say that your son or your daughter gets absolutely hammered and is driving home and hits somebody and they commit manslaughter, and now they're serving 25 to life. Because of that mistake, do you stop loving your child? No. You don't. You're going to love your child forever because they're your child. You don't judge them based on that one action. And you say, okay, you know what? From now on, you're cut off. I don't want to deal with you anymore. I'm never going to see you again. You're always going to love that person, even though if you didn't agree with what they did.
Yeah.
Does that, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that's the point. It's, hey, look, I might not agree with your lifestyle, but I love you, and Jesus loves you. It doesn't even matter my opinion, dude. I'm just let me introduce you to the Savior. Let me introduce you to Jesus.
I think having that grace, like it goes back to grace.
Dude.
You know, God has that grace over us, and it's like, how many times have I messed up, and God still loves me?
Yes, and see, and when Jesus was the last day, let's fast forward all the way to the day of his death. He's on the cross. He took the beating. The word says that he was so dismantled that he was unrecognizable. I can't imagine. If you've seen The Passion of the Christ, I mean, you cannot watch that movie without bawling, dude. To think that that's even just a fraction of what he actually went through. But anyway, he's there on the cross, and there's a guy to his left and there's a guy to his right. And the guy to his right is saying, if you're really the Son of God, why are you allowing this to happen? Why don't you strike all these Romans dead? And why don't you just get yourself off if you're really it? And he's mocking Jesus. And then the guy to his left, being a thief and being whatever he was doing, that guy nailed to the cross next to Jesus had never gone to church, had never said a prayer, had never said a Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo santificado. He never took a little hostia. He never got on his knees to pray. He never, nothing, dude, nothing, zero religion of this guy, 0%. And he looks at Jesus and he says, remember me when you're in the kingdom. And Jesus turns to him and he says, I tell you this, as of right now, you will be with me. If Jesus can forgive somebody for their sins on their very last breath with having zero religion in their life, you and I, listening, have zero excuse to judge anybody.
Yes.
I'm done. I'm going to shut up.
Ooh. That was awesome. No, yeah. And I mean, thank you for sharing like that honesty of having that list. And I'm glad that no one verbally said it or went up to you, because I mean,
and
where would you be?
Obviously, God's so perfect.
Right.
And he orchestrates like every second of his purpose. Like if I was saved for a purpose, he's gonna orchestrate everything around my life for his purpose, not for me. Not to be like, no, it's for his purpose. And so it's so crazy that you keep saying impact. I just learned about the differences between influence and impact. And it's crazy because it all links up, obviously, to, like we were saying, we judge people, the new Christians that come in, and then it's like I heard it too, like, oh yeah, let's like, we want all the drunks in here, we want all the prostitutes in there, but pasa una chava con un vestido bien cortita, we all criticize her. All of us.
Yeah.
Like, what if that's her only dress?
Exactly.
And we're over here like, pero mira. Mira cómo trae los niños. Mira cómo like, we all do it, because I've done it.
Yeah.
Like, we've all done it. So inside, I feel like once we're inside, once we're in the church, we're serving, we have responsibilities now. We have, we start doing it against each other. We start judging because we're like, okay, we want all these souls to come to us, right? Like, we have a bigger responsibility now. But then now it's like, oh, well, why is he doing it that way? Why is she doing it that way? Why isn't she doing it like me? Or why do we all have to be the same? Like that, those were the questions that I started asking, because I wanted to reach the people that nobody was reaching, because I come from that world. My friends, like, I was just thinking, like, why can't I invite my friends to church? Like, why can't I invite my friend to church? Why can't I invite my lesbian friend to church?
Wow.
Like, it was frustrating. It was like, we are not reaching the people that we should.
Exactly.
We are reaching the people that come as we are, not like they are.
Oof.
Like, that whole come as you are, it's not happening. We just want the people that are like us because we're so comfortable, because it's so easy to love Jesus. Like, we're already like, we're saved. Gracias, Dios. Ya hice el trabajo. Gracias. Yes. I'm here to worship you. But that's it. Like, that's where I felt I hit the wall. I was like, boom. And then I was like, okay, ¿y ahora qué?
Wow.
Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, why can't I invite the people that did the internship where we would sponsor people to get abortions? Why can't I invite them? Like, I feel like, how are we going to cater to them, to those needs? Right. So I started thinking, like, how and it's a whole thing. Like, it's going back to, like, the enemy is the king of this world. Like, there is a spiritual world that we are battling every day, and every situation and everything is dominated by him. Yeah. Like, it's his world. It's his land. He's gonna rule. So we have to see what he's doing and get relevant with what he's doing. Like, for example, like the whole thing about influencers and not influencers, the influence and impact. Like, I heard this and I was like, oh my gosh. And then you kept saying impact. And I was like, I have to say it. So the influence is just someone or something that attracts you. But the impact is action. It allows you to do a change. And everyone's so focused on being influencers or being influenced. I'm going to give you an example, because when I read this, I was like, who am I influenced by and who am I impacted by? Because I was like, I cannot just come or say this, because Nat knows I research something and I will share it. Yeah. Like, I will share it with you guys, because I'm like, guess what I heard? Or like, So I'm like, okay, so I prayed about it. So don't judge me, but the number one influencer of El Paso, the Let's Do Makeup.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so do you know her, Leslie? No. She does. Well, she started. Shout out to Leslie. Just kidding. She doesn't even know me. I don't know her, but she does makeup tutorials.
Okay.
So that's how she started on Facebook and YouTube. I don't even know.
She has a big house. I told you. I think it's in somewhere up.
Yeah. See, she, I don't know, because I don't follow influencers or anything like that. Yeah. But I do I personally am attracted to her videos. They entertain me. So I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, it's just like watching Friends. For all of those that grew up in the 90s, we used to wait every Thursday to watch Friends.
What is that? I'm just kidding.
¿Mande?
¿Qué es eso?
Oh,
Just kidding.
or like The Office and like, any sitcom. Back then, we had to wait every week.
Yeah.
And you would clear your schedule to be ready. Porque no había Netflix.
Yeah.
Tú lo tenías que ver en ese momento and that's it.
Us guys, we had to wait for Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball, o sea, todo. We had to wait for everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I actually would wait for Leslie to go live. And all she would do is get ready. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Para empezar, I don't even wear makeup. First of all, which I was like, oh my God, I don't even wear makeup. I don't care about makeup.
Yeah.
I've never cared about makeup. Why am I watching this girl? Like, why am I watching her? And I'm like, she's entertaining. She sounds very real.
Yeah.
O sea, está comiendo hachiros con sus manos todas cochinas, se hace el makeup. I'm like, ew, but she's very real. To me, she's like the most authentic. If you disagree, that's fine. But that's what I think. That's what I got.
Yeah.
But she has never impacted me. I've never bought in anything from her. Because ahora ella es una empresaria.
Sí.
Homegirl lives in the mountain. She's a millionaire.
Yep.
But I've never bought in anything from her because her life does not impact me. Like she doesn't make anything for me to change who I am or what I do to actually do something.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like we are so confused on who we are letting us impact us when they're just influencing us. Because everybody's just so confused of what an influencer is.
Wow.
Because nobody uses like, oh, I'm an impactor.
No.
So influencer. It's like, who told you that? Who told you? Oh, and then I heard the other day something about this YouTube girl. She's like up there. I don't even know her name. I should, but I don't. And Comic-Con invited her because she has a lot of subscribers. Right?
Wow.
So they invited her. She had her little table. Nobody came to see her.
No.
Wow.
Just because you have followers does not mean that you actually make people do stuff.
Oof.
Like impact, Jesus impacted us.
Oof.
He makes us do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that us being like Christians are just supposed to be influencers. But if you are not transparent, if you don't invite anybody to go get coffee, and I'm not just talking about the people that have more than 100 followers, I'm talking about the girl that's serving with you, the girl that's sitting next to you, the girl that nobody talks to, the new girl, the one that came 3 times and nobody spoke to her.
Yeah.
And the 4th time she never came back. Those people, those are the ones we need to go after.
Wow.
Not the ones that's serving next to you. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying don't get like fixate. Like, don't do that. Because I remember being inside the church, being a member, being a leader, being a pastor or whatever. All these labels are just thrown and you get confused. You do get confused because I, as an adult, got confused. I can just imagine how somebody that's a teenager is given that sort of responsibility because I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
And that's so, so dangerous.
Yeah.
And we just feel like, oh, it's like she can be a teacher. Really? Like you're spreading the gospel. Like if you take it that lightly, you're spreading the gospel. That's what we do at church. We spread the gospel.
Wow.
We're not entertainers.
Right.
We're not celebrities. Like we're spreading the gospel. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing.
Right.
And everyone has its different talent and everybody has, our gifts are different and our capacities are different. And I do see that there's some people that are just like amazing. And I'm like, wow, like you've impacted so many people and you're not even a pastor, bro. You're not even a leader. Oof. Shout out to Lily Chavez. That one's for you.
Oh.
Like, she has impacted so many people. And I'm like,
yeah.
What? And I just realized that like a couple of days ago. I was like, oh my God, like she's the one that's impacted me.
Yeah.
More than anybody else.
Right.
While I was in church.
Wow.
That reminds me of a scripture that says, don't be like the hypocrites praying in public.
Yes.
For everybody to see your alleged prayer life. Mm-hmm. It says, yeah, you'll have your reward in heaven.
Yeah.
But the ones that truly have their reward are the ones that do it low key.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is again. Stop talking like a teenager. That do it behind closed doors. That nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, when you're praying, but God knows. Mm-hmm. God sees your prayer life.
Yeah.
Dude, I think the scariest Bible verse for me, a bunch of people, when they think of a scary verse, they think about Revelation when, John is being shown everything that's going to happen in the end of days and saying released from his prison and the 7 years of craziness that's going to be here when the Antichrist is here. The scariest verse for me personally is in Matthew, where some followers of Jesus tell him, but Lord, we cast demons out in your name. We healed people. We prayed for people. Mm-hmm. And Jesus is going to tell him, get away from me. I don't know you. Mm. Can you imagine? You're over here living your life to get more followers, to get more status, to get on a platform, to do all this stuff. And because of the things that only God sees that you did or didn't do, you get to when you reach your day of judgment, God says, "Get away from me. I don't know you." Mm. And your entire life, you thought you were. Mm-hmm. And here we go back to, bro, you had one job. You had to love that new person walking in.
Yeah.
You had to be the light at work to your coworker, mm-hmm. but you were too ashamed to mention Jesus. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or scared of what are they going to think?
What are they going to think? No quiero que me digan el aleluya.
Yeah.
Bro, I tell Nat's testimony every time I have a chance. You're probably tired of it. I'm always, and because for those of you that don't know me, I sing worship on Sundays at my church, but I only do that because God healed Natalie from cancer, and I'm doing it out of obedience. I had the worst self-image ever of my sound, and I'm over here, when I started, I was comparing myself to everyone else, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trash, dude. Like, I can't sing. Why am I even doing this? I'm all mad, like insecure and XYZ. But when they ask, well, how did you start? Or, why do you do what you do? Well, let me tell you what Jesus did for my wife.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you where I was in the slums, vomited on, and, alcohol and drugs and stuff. And Jesus pulled me out of the pit. Mm-hmm. But it's not about me, dude. Let me tell you what Jesus can do for you. Mm-hmm. Come with me.
Yep.
Come with me on Sunday. You should come.
Yep. And I also heard recently that obviously us as Christians, we are in submission, right? Like because our lives are now to follow Jesus. So we are in submission of him. And I heard it in another podcast that said, like, you're submitted when you don't want to do it. When you don't want to do, you just said it. You didn't want to sing, but you're submitted to what God's asking you to do. Oof. I didn't want to be here, but I am submitted to what God's asking me to do.
Yeah.
Like when you feel like submission, that's when you know you're doing the right thing. Oof. When you do things and you're like, oh yeah, I'm submitted to the Lord, but you're enjoying it, that should not be your platform.
Oof.
And you know the people that impact, when you really talk to them, they will tell you they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
They will always, and whoever it is, like you can, I mean, there's so many people that they're like, oh, God told me to do this and I didn't want to do it, but here I am. You know, it's not just like in your local churches. I'm just saying like in general. Yeah. And you can just like test the spirits. Like, you know, if you know that today, none of us wanted to do this.
Yeah.
You know? I got lost when I was on my way. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. Why do I get lost? Like, I've been here so many times. But I did hear that recently, like that submission to God, to what he wants you to do for his purpose, again, because it's all for his glory. Like everything that we do is for his glory. It's not for us. It's not, we didn't do anything. Wow. Like we're just a vessel. Yeah. We're nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
We are nothing. And even showing love is through God, because we're human. We don't love anybody. We don't even love ourselves sometimes. So like it's hard. It's hard to love.
Right.
And it's hard to be a Christian, and it's hard to impact others. But if that's what God wants from you, then just submit to him. Like really submit to him for his glory, and really understand that, because there's a lot of people out there that are just trying to be like influencers. And I just feel like that's so dangerous. Yeah. There's like a fantasy world out there of like, I mean, there's a fantasy world out in the world. I literally just saw this series. Do you guys know about the bling ring?
The bling.
The bling ring?
The bling ring. Okay, so it's a couple of...
B-L-I-N-G?
Yeah, like a bling, like bling bling. I know. So there's a couple of teenagers in Hollywood that stole from celebrities.
Yes.
There's an actual movie with Emma Watson, the Hermione girl.
What?
From Harry Potter. Yeah. The movie is like glamorous, obviously. They're actually, when they go to Paris Hilton's house, it's her actual house.
Oh, wow.
She let them like film her house. They stole from her the most. Yeah. Literally, the guy's like, she was our ATM. Paris Hilton was our ATM. And these guys are 18. They start doing it when they're 17. Yeah. So in this series, it's on Netflix now, they're interviewing them about what's happening. Mm-hmm. And the attorney of the guy, because there's only one guy in this group, the attorney that ends up representing him at the end says something that I was like, wow. He says, these kids were living in a fantasy, and it got them to be criminals for material things. Oof. They were criminals for bags and shoes.
Yeah, the flashy stuff.
For the bling. Yeah. So that kind of fantasy is out there. Yeah. And now I feel like it's coming into our atmosphere. And it's so dangerous. Yeah. Because you can get so lost in it, and you can get so you know what it is? It felt familiar, as coming from a non-Christian background into a Christian safe space. It felt very familiar, and I did not like that. Oh, wow. It's supposed to be a safe environment for me. Right. And I feel like it was just very heartbroken. It was very heartbreaking to know that I couldn't bring the people that need Jesus into this atmosphere now. And I'm not trying to like bash anybody. I've seen it in a lot of places. I'm not just talking about a like specific like place. I see it everywhere, because I'm all about going to all the churches. Yeah. Like I heard someone say once, like, cuando tú vas a comer pizza, and you go to Peter's and you don't like it, you don't stop going to all the pizza restaurants, right? Right. No. You go to Arduino's, you go to Domino's, you go to whatever. Different ones. It's the same thing with churches. Like, if you go to one church and you are not fed well, because it's your soul you're talking about,
Right.
you shouldn't just stop. But there's a lot of people that just stop.
Yeah.
They don't go to the next one. And they don't go to the next one, and they don't go to the next one, and people just stop there. Like,
and I feel like they've been disappointed so many times that they're like, it's going to be the same thing if I go to X, Y, and Z's church.
Yeah.
They're going to judge me again.
Yeah. And like, really quick, Ale, like, when you say that you couldn't bring your friends, like, why do you say that?
Within the church that I was in, I would express a lot of like struggles that I would think were very important.
Okay.
And I guess they were not prepared for certain struggles.
Oh, wow.
Like, for example, we never talked about abortions in my church. And there was literally there was girls in my group they had already had an abortion before.
Wow.
And I believe, and we believe that God orchestrates everything, and he brings us the people that we're supposed to help because we've gone through it.
Right.
So I feel like just because I was already healed from that, I was able to help this girl. But if I hadn't, I don't know, like what happens. And that was my question all the time. Okay. Like if a situation comes that I don't know how to handle, who do I go to? There has to be protocol.
Right.
Because like, we're just not going to like, we're just here, you know?
Right.
Like, and that was my question. Aparte, I just feel like we should be prepared for everything.
Right.
Spiritually and non-spiritually. Yep. You know, there's doctors for a reason. There's psychologists for a reason. There's, therapists for a reason.
Yep.
And I feel like that was where I had the issue with. That there's bigger issues than like how to dress. Or like, let's talk about the seasons.
Yeah.
I think there's like bigger things. Like, I literally did a research before getting my group of girls, of teenage girls. And I was like, what do teenage girls go through? Random, right? Like, I wasn't like in a Christian platform or anything. Google, what do girls go through? Ages this and this. And when they got there, I said, tell me your 5 top struggles in a Post-it. Don't put your name.
Wow.
And for example, one of them was menstruation. Wow. Menstruation, bro. I did a whole research on how the enemy attacks girls during their menstruation. When girls have suicidal thoughts, it's when they're on their period.
Wow.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I hate my period and I'm the worst in my period. And it's cleansing you, literally. You're being cleansed.
Wow.
So, yeah, I can do a whole thing about menstruation. Like, there's actual, like, our cycle, it's divided into our section as women, our creative side, our, like, when we learn things, when we're more vulnerable to our hormones, and the enemy knows it. So when you're in your creative side, guess what? You're not going to create anything because the enemy's attacking that side. Oof. And then when you're going to be active and everything, guess what? He's going to be calling you fat. He's going to be telling you that you're not going to exercise. Oof. And like, if you don't do this research, you're never going to find this out. You need to know about your menstrual cycle. Oof. When I literally talk to these girls, they're like, what? I'm like, Jesus Christ. There's an app. I got them all into an app. Please start, like, putting your cycle so you know that app tells you you're on your creative season on your days. Wow. You're on your this days. Like, learn about your body.
Right. Learn
everything about it.
Yeah.
And certain things like that. And I'm like, come on, guys, we need to get... Like, the devil's getting very smart. Right. He's outsmarting us.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. And we're just thinking like, the girls want to know about how to like, I don't know, find their identity in like the girls that they're hanging out with. Like, no, it needs to get deeper now. It needs to get way deeper.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about females in general, which I went through. And these girls will talk to you, trust me.
Yeah.
They will talk.
Yeah.
They're ready to talk. But there was just things like that I said, if we're not even doing it for our own church, they're not going to do it for my friend.
Yeah.
Like my friend's like, you know how many abortions she's had? She takes it as birth control.
Wow.
For a normal person, like abortions are birth control for us, man. They're only like $40 in Juarez.
Wow.
They're not $500. They're like $40.
Wow.
Because I used to sell them. Those pills. So like, it's there. It's on the reach. And we can go on for so many topics, and it's just I just feel like we were not prepared.
Yeah.
Because I include myself.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're not prepared for a lot of things.
You brought up an awesome point. Like as a church, anywhere, not to the one we're currently attending or whatever. Like we need to be prepared for these quote unquote taboo topics or whatever. Like we cannot they're not taboo anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not talking, and I've said this before, if we are not talking about it at church, they're going to hear it with their friends.
Yep.
At school.
Yeah. Porn.
Sad.
Oh.
I think just recently, like when the boys were in middle school, they confessed, one of them, I forgot which one it was, but they confessed that the first time they ever saw a pornographic video, they were in 3rd grade. And it was by their little school classmate that had a cell phone, in 3rd grade with a freaking iPhone. But anyway, parents, no manchen, pónganse las pilas. Yeah. So if you think that your child, public school or private school, if you're naive enough to believe that they're not being exposed to all these things, parents, if you're naive enough to think that your child is looking at innocent things on TikTok, if you haven't blocked TikTok from your child's phone by now, you need to stop listening and put some kind of block. I love the parental that screen time thingy on Apple that Apple has, because you can block specific websites and specific apps from being downloaded and things like that on your child's phone. Do that immediately. Our own phones are blocked from TikTok. Not because of the whole China thing and political. No, just because there's so many crazy ideas out there that you don't want your kid believing. And like you said, influence versus impact, right? They start believing what is being taught there. Yeah. So if you're being a lazy parent and just giving your child a device para que se callen y te dejen hacer lo que whatever quieres hacer y no te molesten tu novela, and they're just scrolling and you think, oh, they're watching cartoons, and then before you know it, they come home with, I don't know, whatever.
I mean, if we're not doing our job as a parent and talking to them about these topics, they're going to learn it from social media.
Yeah.
And I actually had read a news story. I think it was here in Texas, a town where it was 2 6-year-olds during class. The little girl performed something on the little boy, and it was recorded. 6-year-olds.
They did their own child pornography.
Exactly.
In class.
Wow. And
Let that sink in.
Exactly. It's like, where are they learning this from?
Yeah.
And this went all the way to the school board, and the school board didn't do anything.
Oh, no.
They brushed it off like, oh, well. Exactly. So it's like, hello.
And if you're listening, if you think that this isn't a spiritual warfare,
Ooh, come on.
you are mistaken, dude. It's right in your face now.
Yeah.
They're not even hiding it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's more than an agenda. This is spiritual, bro.
Yeah.
The enemy is absolutely out to get you and your family, and we need to be aware of these attacks. Like I just read to you earlier, it's all spiritual. Before anything happens in the physical, it's happening in the spiritual. Everything happens in the spiritual. We need to prepare, and I encourage you to read Ephesians 6 on the armor of God to prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare your family, career,
everything.
On this topic, Ale, I'm very curious. Knowing what you know, and then I mean, if you're comfortable with sharing, like through the history that you have with your mom or your grandma with the whole witch stuff, spiritually speaking, were you aware of stuff that they would do maybe against people? Like on a spiritual realm?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I think people that are listening don't believe, some don't even believe that stuff's real.
Oh, it's very real. Like,
what's some of the craziest things that you can think of that you saw?
Well, I didn't really see anything. Well, first, my grandma was the witch, not my mom.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
My grandma was very protective of us. Like, she had a little space apart from her house, and that was her office. We were not allowed to go in there. And she had like a little speakerphone. So she would call into the house and she'll be like, okay, let the next client in. The clients were never inside the house. I don't know if you guys know about like houses in Juarez. The backyards are very small, but we have very big porches. So like the porch de mi grandma was filled with chairs so the people could sit there. And I had an aunt that she lived with my grandma and she was kind of like the helper kind of thing. And I just would see a lot of people there and I would just be like, why are there a lot of people here? Like, I wouldn't understand. She had a lot of like figurines. Like, you know how like Catholic churches have like Los Ángeles y los Vírgenes y todo eso? They were not like that because remember, my dad's mom was Catholic, so I would see those at her house. So the ones on my other grandma's, they did not look alike. They were different. I mean, I don't even know what they were. Like, I can't even describe them because I don't know what they are. I just remember a little bald guy, fat, like a Buddha kind of thing. I remember the Buddha, but there was many others, like many others. In the house, nothing like spooky ever happened. There was one room though, that room, everybody that lived in that room would go through very hard things. Like 2 of those people passed away that lived in that room. And I'm so glad we're doing this in English. And like everybody that lived in that room would go through very spiritual things. I remember my cousin, when she lived in the room, she had a Barney that would talk by itself. Like the Barney like would need batteries. So she would take it off and she'd be like, it's going to talk, ahorita habla. And it would say, hello again to all my friends. I even have it memorized.
Oh, wow.
And it will say, I'm glad I'm here to play or something like that.
With no batteries.
With no batteries. So that's like the spookiest I've ever like encountered. But anyone in my family that we talk about it will be like, I wouldn't go in that room by myself.
Yeah.
Oh, no. No. There's a lot of, like, my uncle that lived there, he committed suicide. My aunt that lived in that room, she passed away. My cousin that lived in that room, she's gone through so many things. Like, she was attacked. Her boyfriend was killed. She had cancer, like everything. Like, she's had it the worst. And it was that room. When we are selling the house, when her kids start passing away and she gets older, she gets really depressed, she can't be by herself anymore. We start selling the house. That's when, I think I've told you guys the story, right? About the trash can stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's the only time, I think that's the most impactful thing, because I'm over here, like, I'm already a teenager. I'm already drunk. So I don't even know what's real or what's not, but like, I know it's real. My cousins were there. So one of my aunts she's always been Christian, and she was there, and she told us, I remember her putting gloves like we did for COVID. She puts those gloves on, like the plastic ones. And she's like, no toque nada, no toque nada. And I'm just like, I'm over here with my cousin. We're just smoking. We're just looking at them. We're like, what are these crazy girls doing? And they're in that little office that I was telling you. And I see everything that they come out with, the little figurines, with notebooks full of stuff. She would read the cards. So she had,
tarot.
Yeah, the tarot. So había muchas, a lot of them, and different colors. And she would always tell us, do not touch them. She wouldn't let us touch them, not even touch them. It was just her. She had in the back, like, coolers, like the meat coolers, like the big ones.
Yeah.
Those were filled with, like, little jars. I remember they were like see-through jars, and there was just personal stuff in there.
Wow.
Like hair and just rocks and crystals and I don't know.
Wow.
And little papers rolled with ribbons. So, oh yeah, it's real. Like, they do a lot of stuff. Like, I remember when my cousin was attacked, my grandma had all these crystals, like all these rocks, and she's like, I'm going to clean the spirit of fear. And I was like, no, Grandma, that's fine. I'm not scared. Because as a child, my parents would be like, don't let her do anything. You see her with an egg, you see her with a rock, don't let her do anything like that to you. And I was like, okay. So I already knew.
Right.
Like, no, that's fine. She would do all of that. So I knew that that's what she would do. And she had a lot of people coming by.
Wow.
Like, that was her main source of income. And she put everybody through school. And she was the one that would, support everybody in that house.
Yeah.
So when she got really sick, I started asking her. Like, I would record her. I would get my little phone and I'll be like, so tell me about your life, Grandma. And she would just tell me things like how she started, her husband, which was my grandpa, and like, I think she had like a long last love or something. I'm going to write a book about my grandma's life. It's so interesting. She was stabbed 3 times in the same spot. Like, she had a scar. She would be like, mira mi scar. Like, she was like, yeah, she was gangster. She'll be like, mira. And I'll be like, what is that? Like, big scar acá, like, así en su panza. Y yo,
oh, wow.
No. And she'll tell you like, oh yeah, the first time I was this age. And then the second time I got stabbed in the same place. And I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
Like, what is this? You know, like, I just thought she was just like so cool. Because she didn't like portray anything dark.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, she was never rude to us. She was never mean to us. She was never violent with us. She was very like, you guys can do everything. You guys can do anything. And, so it was nothing dark, but there was darkness happening in that house. You can tell.
Yeah.
Like, people getting beat up. I mean, my cousin's boyfriend getting killed the way he did was not a normal thing, Then later I start finding out more stuff, and it's just crazy. But that day when they were cleaning out everything, they're throwing everything in the trash can, and they have like a little gas tank, and they're like, okay, we're going to burn it. And I'm just like, okay, like, let's go home, you know, like, hurry up. And that was the last thing they cleaned out.
Wow.
Because they sold the house and everybody was able to go get, like, you know, stuff from your grandma's house, whatever you want, whatever. Mm-hmm. And at the end, they left the office. And my grandma was not there. It was just my aunts and me and my cousins. Mm-hmm. Me and my cousin, just one of them. And we're just sitting there. Like, watching them. Wow. And then my aunt, the one that's wearing the gloves, she's like, I'm not going to touch anything. And she keeps telling them, like, no toque nada, like, blah, blah, blah. They don't care. They throw everything in there. And then my mom gets my cigarette and she throws it in there. And nothing happens. Nothing. And they light another match. They throw it. Nothing happens. They get like a little paper, like rolled up, mm-hmm. and they light that on fire, and then they throw it in the trash, and nothing happens. Wow. And my aunt, my Christian aunt, mm-hmm. she turns around to them and it's like, "Are you guys ready to do this? How I'm gonna tell you to do this?" Uh-huh. And then they're like, "Ay, okay." So they hold hands, and they circle the trash can, and they start praying. Mm-hmm. And my aunt just starts praying like, "En el nombre de Jesús, blah, 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 blah." Mm-hmm. And then boom, it just catches on fire. Wow. Like nobody threw anything. It just caught on fire.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I'm drunk. I'm like, what's going on here? Wow. But for me, it was just like, eh. And that's it. Like, la, la, la. And with all of that, when that curse is with you, you have to be very careful. Like, if it's God, like really the discernment of the Holy Spirit telling you to do things, or if they're the demons, the spirits, because you can open spirits. I mean, you can open doors to spirits in so many ways. Wow. And you don't even realize that you're opening that door. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when that generational curse, because that's what it was a generational curse. When you do it, when you believe it, like when you're the witch yourself and you're doing this, mm-hmm. you have that generational curse up to 3 generations. Mm. If you practice it, you're doing the same generational curse. So if anybody has ever read your palm, if anybody has ever read your aura, if anybody's ever done any sort of magic, white, purple, dark, green, whatever, it's still magic. And it's not okay. Wow. That does not come from God. And you do have to break those chains. Like, I learned that I had to break those generational curses myself, because they were given to me without having anything to do with it. Right. So, yes, there's a lot of people that do believe in it. O sea, los amores de amarre, que te dan una limpia, que para el dinero, que para... I mean, I've seen it all. Yeah. The lemons, the eggs, the coins, the jars, the scissors, the everything.
And I think now that you say la limpia de los huevos, like or limpia de con los huevos.
Yes.
That came out so wrong.
We understood.
But I think, because I grew up as a Catholic too, and I feel like that's not knowing that it's actually like part of witchcraft. Like it's not okay for you to do that. Like, you don't know, like, because it's, oh, your grandma did it. And it's something like Hispanics grew up around with. But no, it's like, you don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's very true.
On that note, real quick, I'm going to read to you Deuteronomy 18, starting in verse 11. Verse 10. For example, never sacrifice your son or daughter as a burnt offering. And do not let your people practice fortune telling, or use sorcery, or interpret omens, or engage in witchcraft, or cast spells, or function as mediums or psychics, or call forth the spirits of the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. It is because the other nations have done these detestable things that the Lord your God will drive them out ahead of you. But you must be blameless before the Lord your God. The nations you are about to displace consult sorcerers and fortune tellers, but the Lord your God forbids you from doing such things. So once you know the truth, once you know Jesus, drop that huevo. Drop that Miss Cleo.
And God's very like specific because of this generational curse. Obviously, I was always attracted to that stuff. Like I was attracted to like wizards and vampires and stuff like that, which there are demons. They're demons.
Right.
I saw a video. No, somebody was telling us about a video about a little girl that's getting a pastor's like le está dando una liberación a la niña because she believes she's a mermaid. A mermaid. And he's casting out the demon from the little girl, and the little girl speaking to him like, no. And you see the pastor like, like en el nombre de Jesús y así, ¿verdad? And he turns to the parents and he's like, where did this like happen? She had to open that door. And they're like, we don't know. Like, we don't know when it started. And they did the research, blah, blah, blah. And they find out that she saw, vio una serie or something about mermaids on the Discovery Channel.
Wow.
Something so simple. Like we watch things on the Discovery Channel. We watch the Unsolved Mysteries. We watch the, because it's just there. It's like, no pasa nada.
Wow.
But we're opening doors to that kind of like, hechicería and all of that stuff. And it's like, son potestades más grandes that we don't realize that they're there.
Right.
And we don't realize that we're opening that door.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just watching The Exorcist.
Right.
It's not like I remember when I came to Jesus and I started doing my actual recovery and I became sober and I became alert of everything that was happening. I started listening to the voice of God. The first thing he told me to do is to get rid of all my Harry Potter stuff. I literally had a wand. Like I went to Hogwarts in Orlando and I was like, I love this place. I went into the little wand thing and I got my wand and I was like, expect the patronum, like.
It is a pretty cool spot. Like you feel like you're in the movie.
Yes.
Remember we went, but we didn't go in Orlando. We went to, what was it? Anaheim.
Sí.
Yeah.
No.
Pero,
I mean, I grew up reading these books.
Yeah.
Like, when the movies come out and then the theme park and I'm like, I had the little purse and the necklace and esto y que el otro and everything. And I remember God was like, that's the first time I ever heard him speak to me.
wow.
Like, you throw away everything. Oh, because I was like, I'm going to put it in a little box and give it away. You're not going to give that to someone else.
Ooh.
You're going to stop
That's
it.
it.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And there I go. I remember I was in the apartments. I lived in some apartments and I went to the dumpster and I just threw everything away.
Wow.
And I was like, that was crazy. Like, did that really just happen? Like, it's just a wand.
No.
So imagine when you actually go to a place and you're like, ayúdame a hacerle un amarre a mi esposo. What? That's crazy.
Yeah, no. Stuff you don't mess with.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to leave your house anymore. Parents, you ready for this? This show is on Disney Plus. It's called Little Demon.
Whoa.
Here's the description. A mother and her antichrist daughter are constantly thwarted by monstrous forces, including Satan.
On Disney Plus.
I'm reading this from DisneyPlus.com.
Wow.
And it's a cartoon.
I mean, the movie, the one with the witches.
Hocus Pocus.
Yes, the new one. I was like,
Yes.
what?
The first one, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, the first one, it's
childhood nostalgia.
I do remember a scene that I don't know what. I mean, it's a spell when she turns him into a cat. The first one, when she's doing that little whatever, she turns him into a cat. She's doing a spell there, but that I know of, that's the only time. I mean, there's a lot of things in the first one too, like the texture of the book. It's
like skin, no?
It looks like human skin to me. Little things like that I can see. I mean, it's a comedy, I get it, but we don't see how this can affect you by thinking, oh, it's just like a Disney movie. No.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's Disney. There's no agenda. And we're not telling you to go cancel Disney and go on this strike or whatever. Dude, I mean, you guys, you do what you feel is right for your family. All we're saying is now more than ever, you need to be very hyper vigilant on what your children are consuming.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to add to that, and you guys know this, I do watch, like, I don't watch horror movies, but for example, Stephen King, I mean, I'm an English major. I literally took a Gothic lit class. So I read Stephen King.
Yeah.
I think his books are so good.
Yeah. Shout out It.
Dude, I love that story.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But, you know, like, I'm not saying go dress up as a clown, you know? Right. Another thing, I loved Halloween growing up. And fun fact, I literally got baptized on Halloween weekend.
Whoa.
Oh, well.
That was crazy too. I was like, okay, God, I get it.
The irony.
Yes, the irony. I was like, I'm getting baptized on Halloween. That's so crazy.
Wow.
Like, I'm never going to forget.
Para que amarre.
Yes. So, like, I do see things that are based on, like, horror, like, attachments or however you want to call it. But the thing that I've noticed as a Christian is that I always pray to God before I see something. Yeah. There's things that are going to trigger you, like based on your traumas, based on whatever you're going through, that could bring more like discomfort than watching a horror movie. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I can watch that I'm able to see. I know I've told you this, that like I love to see monsters like portrayed. I like to see their textures. I like to see what color they are, because sometimes in my visions, in my dreams, I see them, and I'm able to identify some of them. It's just so weird to me, but if someone doesn't show me that, how am I gonna know? Like, but there sometimes the Holy Ghost is like, turn that off, and I'm like, okay, you turn it off. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna be like, okay, let me get scared. Like, no, I don't want that. Right. But there's some things that I can watch, but there's some others that I can't. Right. So you just have to be like very careful, especially like with your children and stuff. Like, yeah, I would be very, very careful with that. Yeah. Very. And Lily had told me the other day, and it was so funny. And she said it here. We were talking about that the last time, that she was like, she laughs, and I'm like, what? And she's like, it's so funny how you take something so dark
and make it.
And like, you are not scared of it. And I'm like, no, I'm not scared of it. Like, you know, like, it's not something that I'm scared of. Right. I can identify it. And it's crazy because a lot of people do get scared. Yeah. When like, oh, I can sometimes go into a house and smell something wrong. It's weird. Like, it's weird. And before I was Christian, I would have these like feelings like, oh, I don't know if it was one of your podcast episodes. I don't know who was saying that you felt, oh no, I'm not going. I think it was Pepe's and Jessica's, that they felt, oh, don't go, and then something would happen. Oh, that would happen to me all the time. It got to the point that they thought I was the one raiding the parties. Whoa. Oh, wow. Because I would leave before it would get. And I'll be somewhere, I'll be like, let's go. Let's just go.
Something.
Vámonos.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, you're the one raiding the parties. No, I'm not. Like, I'm just going home.
Yeah.
And it happens to me. It would happen to me before. And now it's a little bit more with like, with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. I'm just like, hey, what's going on here?
Right.
And we were just having dinner with Lily and her sister Rocio. Shout out. By the way, the place was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
When we got there, it was empty. I'm talking about 0 people in the restaurant. It was Nat and I. We showed up, and then maybe 15 minutes later, Lily and Rocio show up. And it's literally just the 4 of us and the servers in this place. And we're celebrating our birthdays. And within, an hour? Hour and a half?
Yeah. A little less.
Say you know.
This place was packed out. And dude, I'm not saying it's us, okay? But how many times does that happen to us, babe?
I've lost count.
It happens so frequently, dude. Yeah. We show up to a place, to a restaurant, whatever, and it's empty. Or there's just a couple people, and then we show up, and then all of a sudden, all these people start coming through. And it happens way too often for us to be like, it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Es una coincidencia. Es una diosidencia.
Yeah.
It's a Godcidence. Not a coincidence, a God incidence. But anyways.
Or like when you're like about to pray for you're like, bendice este lugar, and then boom.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens.
It's legit.
Yes.
Well, guys, I know. Oh, go ahead. Well, we're done for this episode, man. I know we've kept you guys for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
No.
Yeah.
It's been 2 hours?
It's been 2 hours and 10 minutes and 50 seconds. But it's been so good, though.
It's like a movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes you watch a movie for like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this was great. And if God tells you to come back, Ale, please do.
Yeah.
Because this was awesome.
I feel like we just the
Scratch the
tip
surface
of the iceberg.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to share?
No, I just wanted to say this. Like, thank you so much for being here and for being obedient and following what God told you. It's an honor to have you here and share your story, part of your story, and thank you so much. So
you're welcome. And also, thank you guys. And I know everybody tells you like, oh, thank you for being obedient to like the voice of God and everything, but it's just something that someone told me once, like with our blog, that we weren't sure about how to do it and who to interview and everything. Someone told me once that the reader of those testimonies has been chosen by God already. All you have to do is write it. So like, it's the same thing with you guys. And I tell you, your listeners, they're already chosen by God.
Wow.
Every episode you guys are going to do, the readers are already chosen. Like, I mean, the listeners have been chosen already.
Wow.
Like, that's a for sure thing. So all you have to do is show up. So whenever things like this happen, like today, just show up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, all we have to do is show up, even though we don't want to.
That's so true. And I know you commented something earlier of when you feel like you don't want to do it and you still do it. It's because it's submission right there. Yeah.
And then once you do it, you're glad you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember you, baby, you'd be like, I don't want to go to this meeting. I don't want to go to this reunion or whatever. And then you come home and you're like, oh my gosh, babe, I'm so glad I went.
Yeah.
I think especially me, like, not being very outspoken, or I don't know what to say because I'm not very knowledgeable in certain areas. So I feel like, okay, what I'm going to say, is it good enough? But like you said, there's already someone that will relate to me, or whatever. And it's something that I'm glad I'm doing it, but it's a struggle for me sometimes. But I'm glad that I'm being.
Yes, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of you. And another thing I heard recently too, it was like, I don't want to be the person that didn't give the blessing to that person that needed it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like.
Mic drop, bro.
Like it hurts us to be here. Right. Like it's a struggle to be here. Like we're human beings. We're not like, but I heard that like whoever's listening to me today could be missing out on this blessing just because I didn't feel like coming.
Oof.
And that's not okay. As a Christian believer, as a Jesus follower, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And whatever is going on and whoever told you is not enough, your voice is not enough, just show up. That's it.
Yeah.
Like that's all you have to do.
Amen. But thank you again.
That's it. Bye, guys. No, just kidding.
Dang, dude. Cherry on top.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay tuned. Way more to come. Way more blessing. Way more just being the light, man. Be the light. Be the light to someone. Leave people better than you found them.
Yes. And love them.
And love them.
Yeah.
Let people meet Jesus through you. Through your hug. Through your smile. Through that kindness in your eye.
Yeah.
Be the light, guys. Have a great night or day or evening or whatever. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.